Hello, I'm Catherine, a 38-year-old novelist with a passion for mystery writing. I lead a life that many dream of. My books have garnered a loyal following, allowing me to support my family through my craft. I've been married to Peter for a decade, and together we have a 9-year-old son, Stephen. In the early days of our marriage, Peter was employed, but as my career flourished, he chose to leave his job. For the past few years, he's largely been idle, often spending his days playing pachinko. Recently, however, I stumbled upon a troubling truth. Peter has been unfaithful, showering someone else with expensive designer gifts purchased on my credit card. I've tolerated his behavior for the sake of our son, but I've reached my breaking point. It's time for a change. This realization was sparked by an unexpected ally, someone I never anticipated would come to my aid. One day, I noticed Peter dressed unusually in a suit, a stark contrast to his usual attire. My curiosity piqued. I asked him about it. He seemed caught off guard but quickly recovered, claiming he had a job interview. "It's time I start working again," he said. I wanted to believe him, to think he was finally taking steps to improve our family situation. Wishing him luck, I returned to my writing, racing against a pressing deadline. Hours passed, and it wasn't until 2 a.m. that Peter finally returned. His late arrival and the mysterious job interview raised more questions than answers, and I realized I could no longer let things continue as they were. It was time to face the reality of our situation and make some difficult decisions for the sake of my well-being and our son's future. When Peter stumbled through the door that night, he reeked of alcohol and perfume. Collapsing onto the living room sofa, his smartphone slipping from his grip but remaining unlocked in his hand. Overcome with suspicion and curiosity, I couldn't resist the urge to take a peek at his phone. What I found sent shockwaves through me, undeniable proof of his affair with my best friend, Nancy. They had been at a fancy restaurant with a breathtaking view just hours earlier. The betrayal felt like a physical blow. How could both Peter and Nancy, who was also married, do this to me? Tears threatened to spill, but I fought them back, unwilling to wake Peter. Quietly, I transferred the incriminating photos and messages to my phone, determined to collect myself and strategize my next steps. The following morning, I approached Peter as if nothing had happened. "Hey Peter, about yesterday, you mentioned an interview but got home quite late. What happened?" He shifted uncomfortably, his gaze avoiding mine as he scrambled for an excuse. "I ran into a friend after the interview, and we went out for drinks." When I pressed him about the friend's identity, he dismissed it with a wave. "Just some guy, Catherine. Do I really need to explain everything?" His evasiveness only confirmed my worst fears but also fueled my resolve to handle the situation with dignity and strategy. A month has passed since that painful discovery, and the weight of Peter's betrayal still lingers heavily on my heart. I haven't confronted him yet, knowing it could irreparably fracture our family. If it were solely up to me, I might have already shown him the evidence and demanded a divorce. But considering our son and the complex emotions involved, I've had to tread carefully, understanding that my decisions will forever alter our lives. Despite the turmoil within me, the thought of separating Stephen from his father is unbearable. Peter's frequent outings, supposedly to clear his head or meet friends, have unwittingly provided me with the perfect cover to gather more evidence of his infidelity. I had become increasingly suspicious of Peter, and one day, seizing the opportunity while he was out, I rummaged through his belongings. What I found was a stack of receipts for women's designer items, luxuries I certainly hadn't received. None of these high-end goods were anywhere in our home, leading me to one painful conclusion. Peter was lavishing these extravagant gifts on Nancy, my so-called best friend. But the mystery only deepened. How was Peter financing these purchases? He hadn't worked in years and was living off the modest allowance I provided from my earnings. Concerned and desperate for answers, I devised a plan to follow him. I called my brother, masking my true intentions under the guise of a shopping trip. "Hey, sorry to bother you out of the blue, but can you watch Stephen for a bit? I want to go shopping alone," I said. My brother, puzzled because I usually preferred online shopping, raised an eyebrow. "Shopping? You've never been one to do that in person. What's up?" "Normally, yes, but today I need something from a store. Can you watch him for me?" I replied. He agreed but reminded me not to be gone long as Stephen might get lonely. With my brother's help, I was free to track Peter. I spotted him downtown, arm in arm with Nancy, strolling into a high-end designer store with unsettling familiarity. A mix of hurt and anger surged through me as I watched them approach the cashier. What I saw next shocked me to my core. Peter was paying with a credit card. My heart sank as I realized it was my secondary credit card, the one I usually kept tucked away in an unattended drawer at home. Peter had taken it without my knowledge. The betrayal was deeper and more complex than I had ever imagined. Witnessing it firsthand was painful, but it armed me with the undeniable proof I needed. Now, I had to decide what to do next, knowing that whatever steps I took would impact not just my life but Stephen's as well. Over the past few months, I have been making significant purchases for my home office, including monitors, keyboards, and new furniture, all the while feeling the weight of this deception looming over me. I hadn't realized that Peter was using my busy schedule to mask his deceitful spending. Both of our credit cards were linked to the same bank account, and in the midst of my hectic routine, I hadn't scrutinized the statements closely enough. This oversight now haunted me, making it painfully clear that not only was Peter unfaithful, but he was also misusing my funds to shower gifts on his mistress. Any remaining affection I felt for my husband evaporated in the wake of this revelation. While part of me blamed myself for not noticing sooner, I found it impossible to forgive his betrayal. I had managed to snap some clear photos of Peter and Nancy together before heading home, my mind boiling with anger. In the following days, my thoughts turned to revenge. I frequently checked Peter's computer, knowing he left it unlocked and easily accessible when he wasn't around. Digging into his communications with Nancy, I soon uncovered their plans for a romantic getaway to Kagoshima over the upcoming long weekend, a 5-day escape that seemed tailor-made for my own plans of retribution. However, I faced a significant dilemma. I needed to ensure that my son Stephen remained shielded from the ugly truth about his father's actions. I reached out to my brother again, hoping he could help by looking after Stephen. "Hey bro, sorry to bother you again, but could you watch Stephen for me during the upcoming long weekend?" His response, though supportive, carried a hint of concern. "You mean for all 5 days?" he asked, sounding surprised. Before I could reply, he added firmly, "Catherine, stop trying to handle everything on your own. Peter's cheating on you, isn't he?" I was taken aback by his directness. "How did you know?" I asked, my voice a mix of shock and curiosity. "I heard it from Stephen," he revealed. Hearing my son's name in this context jolted me. Despite his young age, Stephen had sensed that something was amiss with his father. This complicated matters further, as it meant that Stephen was more aware of the situation than I had hoped. Now, I had to navigate not only my response to Peter's betrayal, but also how to protect my son from the emotional fallout. I hadn't realized how deeply Peter's actions were affecting Stephen until my brother pointed it out. Despite my efforts to shield him, Stephen had sensed the tension and pain in our household. As I grappled with these revelations, Stephen, having overheard our conversation, entered the room. "Mom, it's okay. I'm on your side," he said, his clarity surprising for someone so young. "Are you sure, Stephen?" I asked, touched by his understanding and support. "I don't want anyone who makes Mom sad. As long as I have you, I'm okay," he replied confidently. "Thank you, Stephen. And thank you too, bro," I expressed, feeling the surge of gratitude for their unwavering support. Bolstered by the encouragement of my son and brother, I resolved to take decisive action against Peter's betrayal. We began planning our move to a new home, timing it to coincide with Peter's getaway with his mistress. With my brother's help, we discreetly packed our belongings whenever Peter was out. The night before the long weekend, as Peter buzzed with excitement for his trip, I decided it was time to confront him and perhaps give him one last chance to explain himself. "Peter, what's with the suitcase? Why are you packing?" I inquired as I watched him shuffle through his things. "Oh, this? I'm going on a trip with a friend starting tomorrow," he answered nonchalantly. "A trip? Did you mention anything about that? Seems like a last-minute decision," I probed, hinting at my knowledge of his misuse of the allowance. Peter's annoyance was palpable as he attempted to brush off my questions. "Don't talk to me about it anymore, Catherine," he snapped. I lowered my voice, pressing in further. "Are you really going on this trip with just a friend?" My tone caused him to flinch, his shoulders tensing as he realized how much I knew. His reaction confirmed my suspicions, and I understood what I had to do next, for myself and for Stephen. Despite his obvious deceit, Peter tried to downplay my concerns. "You've been nagging me a lot lately, Catherine," he said, trying to justify his secretive plans as merely a getaway with a friend. "Have a good time. I shot back, my voice dripping with sarcasm as I left the room. Deep down, I wish Peter had been honest with me. Perhaps I might have considered working through our issues amicably, maybe even discussing alimony and child support despite his infidelity. There was a time when he had been my pillar, supporting me through my struggles to get my novel published. I didn't want to harbor hatred or resentment toward him. However, given the extent of his deception, I knew I couldn't just stand by for the sake of my son and my future. Ending the relationship had become inevitable. There was no merit in preserving ties with someone who had been so repeatedly dishonest. The next morning, by the time I woke up, Peter had already left for his trip. I immediately checked a drawer and, as expected, found my credit card missing. Without hesitation, I called the credit card company to report it lost and blocked any further transactions. As I managed these logistics, Stephen woke up and greeted me with a bright smile. "Mom, today's the day, right?" he asked eagerly. "Huh," I replied, momentarily confused. "We're moving to our new home today, right?" His eyes sparkled with excitement, dispelling any residual anxiety I felt. "That's right, Stephen. I've canceled the credit card, and now it's time for us to move on to our new home," I confirmed, feeling a mix of relief and anticipation. "Yeah, I'm excited for our new home," he exclaimed. With my brother's invaluable assistance, our move went smoothly, and as we settled into our new environment, I felt a powerful sense of a fresh start. Stephen's enthusiasm and resilience reminded me that no matter how challenging our circumstances had been, a new beginning was not only possible but also filled with potential. A sense of renewal washed over Stephen and me as we settled into our new life. Meanwhile, Peter's belongings were sent to the address he had specified, marking a definitive break in our lives. This tranquility, however, was soon interrupted. The next day, while we relaxed in our new surroundings with my brother's support, my phone rang. "Hello, Catherine. It's Peter. Can you transfer me some money? I've spent more than I planned and need some extra cash," he said, completely unaware that I have frozen the credit card he usually misused. "Didn't you say you were going to stick to your allowance?" I replied, my tone sharp. "Come on, don't say that. I can't enjoy my trip if you do," he complained. "Alone? Aren't you with Nancy?" I shot back, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. Peter sounded taken aback. "What are you talking about? Who's Nancy? What's going on with the card?" he asked, trying to play dumb. "It's pointless to act innocent. Your lies aren't working," I snapped, my patience wearing thin. "It's clear you've been cheating on me with my best friend. Did you really think you wouldn't get caught?" "This isn't what it looks like. It's not cheating," he stammered, desperation creeping into his voice. My anger flared, fueled by his feeble attempts to deflect blame. With my brother and son within earshot, I unleashed my fury. "Stop making excuses. You have a family and chose to have an affair while misusing someone else's credit card. Do you realize how low you've sunk?" "Catherine, let's calm down," he tried to soothe. "Calm down? How can I stay calm when I'm talking to the person who betrayed our family so thoughtlessly?" My voice rose, an outpouring of emotions I had held back for far too long. The call ended with my unyielding words, leaving a heavy silence in the room. My brother placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder, while Stephen looked up at me, his young face a mixture of confusion and concern. This painful moment marked the beginning of a new chapter for us, one where we could move forward from the deception and hurt. Overwhelmed with a mix of disgust and resolve, I made my feelings brutally clear to Peter. "Let me make this clear. I have no intention of forgiving you or offering any help. You and the woman you cheated with can go straight to hell. Don't you dare show your face in front of me or Stephen ever again." With those final words, I abruptly hung up the phone, cutting off the conversation. Moments later, Nancy, the woman Peter had cheated with, called me. Her voice was sharp and demanding. "Catherine, what are you doing?" she asked, her tone dripping with irritation. "Nancy, long time no see. How's your trip with your best friend's husband going?" I shot back, my words laced with sarcasm. "Shut up. Explain yourself," she snapped. "Don't play dumb. You sent Peter's belongings to my house, didn't you?" I pressed, my anger boiling beneath the surface. During our move, I had deliberately shipped all of Peter's belongings to Nancy's house, fully aware that she was the other woman. Since Nancy was married, I knew her husband would be home when the delivery arrived. I had also included the detailed letter outlining the situation, ensuring her husband would understand the full extent of their spouse's betrayal. As I yelled at Nancy over the phone, barely holding back my fury, she blurted, "Are you serious?" My husband found out, and he's furious. Isn't that expected? You're having an affair, even though you're married. I fired back. I can't believe my supposed best friend would do something so disgraceful. You're the worst. I'm incredibly disappointed in you. Excuse me, she said, taken aback. I think that's my line. You were the one having an affair with my husband. Do you think I forgive you for that? Who showed disrespect first, Nancy? I wasn't serious. It was just a fling. There's no way I'd settle for a jobless loser like him. She tried to minimize her actions. Whether you were serious or not doesn't matter to me, I replied coldly, cutting through her excuses. The betrayal had severed any ties of friendship we once had, leaving only the stark reality of her deception. I'm divorcing Peter, and your affair is something I won't forgive. I'll be demanding the maximum compensation from both of you, so be prepared. Compensation? I did agree to that. Why should I pay you? Nancy protested, her voice tinged with panic. It's only natural. You did something that warrants it, I asserted firmly. But wait, I'm a housewife. I can't afford to pay compensation, she stammered. That's for you to figure out. Maybe you can ask your husband for help, though I doubt he'll be inclined to assist you now, I replied coldly. Wait a minute, Catherine, please, she began to plead, but I was done listening. Goodbye, I said, and I hung up the phone, promptly blocking her contact. I moved forward with the divorce proceedings through a lawyer demanding compensation not just from Peter but also from Nancy. I sought child support and reimbursement for the funds Peter had frivolously spent on my credit card. Nancy, now burdened with debt from the compensation payments, was served divorce papers by her husband and eventually forced to leave their home. Her attempts to rely on her family proved fruitless, and she found herself working night shifts just to make ends meet. Peter, having tried to lean on Nancy only to be blamed for their downfall, watched the relationship crumble. They parted ways, and with his long spell of unemployment, he struggled to juggle several part-time jobs just to survive. If he ever falls behind on the compensation or child support, I am fully prepared to enforce the legal judgment. Meanwhile, Stephen and I are thriving in our new environment. He is growing up quickly, blossoming in a home filled with love and free from the sadness of the past. My focus is on continuing to provide him with a nurturing atmosphere, shielding him from any further emotional turmoil.